What's up, lore masters? Today we'll be discussing if Sisko actually ordered Worf to kill Chancellor Gowron towards the end of the Dominion War. This is a theory that I've honestly never given any credibility or credence. Before we discuss whether Sisko actually did do this dirty act, tell Worf to kill a man or not, we do need to analyze the Klingon Empire itself. One of the early things you learn when you're going through film school is that both movies and television are literally genie magic. A movie or episode tells you what they want you to see, not what you're actually seeing. If there's one thing I can say about the Star Trek writers, it's that they are experts at telling Trek fans what to think, what to feel, and what's the truth. This is probably why people get so angry at me when I literally just relate the actions of Starfleet and show how any reasonable person would see how immoral the organization can be. I bring this up because I believe that's exactly what has happened with the Klingons. When we're first introduced to the species, in real life, not according to the Trek timeline, they are cads and cliched villains. They don't have honor, in fact quite the opposite. They're literal mustache twirlers. However, during the TOS movies, the Klingons are rewritten to have quite an in-depth honor code and rich cultural history. In the movies, every Klingon follows what they consider to be honorable. They are bound by it. It doesn't matter what a Klingon does, as long as it brings glory to the Empire, they are in some way glorious. From a janitor to a warrior, they all will bring honor to their family. This changes a bit in the next generation, as Klingons are more and more portrayed as a people who largely define honor as that which can be obtained in combat, and not much else. They even decide to make the society sexist and anti-science, even though this is contradictory to what we see in the TOS movies, but Trek being contradictory is a requirement in writing, so I guess I really can't complain. From TNG to DS9 to Voyager and Enterprise, the focus on making Klingons honor-bound and tying that honor directly to combat becomes the norm. There are offshoot episodes here and there where honor of different sorts is discussed or even exemplified, but those are the exception, not the rule. I bring this up because when we look at the Klingon Empire from a storytelling perspective, they're rarely honorable, even though that's what we're told time and again. If I was to explain this thematically, why it would appear that they're honorable in DS9 and generally aren't, I'd probably say that the reasoning is due to a mix of the Klingon culture and where the Klingon Empire is located. The Klingons had to dedicate a large portion of their resources to ships and space combat to gain land to continue to grow the Empire and just eat. Due to this, a culture would have grown around combat, one based on gaining land and calling it honorable so everyone could sleep at night. As is expected, when you look at this type of culture, they would take the more bountiful resources and throw it all into a war machine. The Klingons now dedicating everything to their military as a cultural experience over a necessity. This would ultimately lead to their destruction as the moon of Praxis would explode. Luckily, there would be a man in power who would be a reformer, someone who would want to change everything. Chancellor Gorkon. Being able to see that the destruction of Praxis would mean the extinction of all Klingons, the Chancellor would see that he needed to embrace a different form of honor, an honor for all, and would move away from all combat all the time. While the man was a revolutionary, unfortunately, he was very unique within his culture. Those that would follow him would try to mimic what he was or what he did, but never truly understood it. The chancellorship could be attained by anyone in theory, but generally was only allowed for those born within a noble family. Deceit and subterfuge started to fester within the noble peoples, and it got so bad that the Klingon Empire would even come close to allying with the Romulans and betraying the Federation. Chancellor Gowron is likely the penultimate example of this faux honorable Klingon. The man was a politician through and through. He was more concerned about what the optics were more than he was the actual honor or bringing glory to the Empire and his family. We see this both in The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Klingons within the Empire were not idiots. The signs were definitely there. They had just become used to what the culture was and pretended that it was something else, that it was whatever they were told in school, even if it wasn't that way in practice. They accepted weak leaders and political maneuvering over honor. It would be something that was simply the norm. They would turn a blind eye to it, just keep it moving. This was a way of life and meant that even the Dominion War would be put in jeopardy as the greatest general, Martok, stood back and let it happen. Because this was his chancellor who was corrupt. He would rather let the entire Alpha Quadrant burn than stand up to Gowron. Wow, I didn't know Martok was half Cardassian. You know, you really learn a lot about characters when you do these deep dives. And that brings us back to Sisko. We first see the captain arguing over a failed attack by Martok and his forces on a planet deep within the Dominion territory. The Klingons were outnumbered 6-1, and still Martok fought harder than most. There were 7 ships lost in this and 5 critically damaged. From beginning to end, it was a waste of resources and equipment, as well as men. Sisko directly challenges Martok, trying to reason with him, but the Chancellor just waves him off. After this, Sisko calls Worf to his office to discuss the huge problem they have. Worf advises Sisko that the attacks are politically motivated. If you hadn't, I would encourage everyone to rewatch the scene between Worf and Sisko, as you can really tell what's occurring based on both posture and music. When Worf related that Gowron wants Martok removed from power, the music becomes pretty ominous, and Sisko turns his back to Worf, thinking. He asks if Worf has any ideas, which the Klingon states he does, but it would be difficult. Sisko turns and tells Worf that he should do whatever has to be done, that the issue has to be dealt with, one way or the other. Here's the thing. Sisko is also not stupid. He has had a Klingon under his command for a while and has worked within the Empire. He's fought a war against the Klingons and has had them as allies. The Klingon Empire, generally, has been a close ally of the Federation. There's no way he couldn't know that political assassination isn't an option. Also, this is a man who would be an accomplice to murder to bring the Romulans into the war, and utilize biogenic weapons against people who couldn't defend themselves to get one man. So would Sisko have any qualms at this stage ordering Worf to kill Martok? Absolutely not. And honestly, I think he knew exactly what he was doing. The only thing that surprises me is that Sisko didn't tell Worf to do it directly and then send him out with a thank you basket and a candy stripper to have the issues addressed. And when you think about it, this really only continues to show the impacts of how a universe that doesn't play by Starfleet's rules in a war that has cost thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lives has impacted a frontline captain. While Sisko has always been a different kind of Starfleet officer, I don't believe that the Sisko of Season 1, Episode 1 would do anything near this. It has taken constant degradation of his character for him to take hit after hit to slowly change him. Arguably, after In the Pale Moonlight, Sisko might have begun to do this quite frequently. After all, the first kill is always the toughest. It gets easier after that. But all of these are my opinions. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded. Hey guys, I want to take a minute to say thank you. The response that I've been getting is phenomenal. As many of you know, the pandemic is finally hitting YouTubers as advertisers are pulling out and views are down on the platform. If less than 1% of the people who viewed my videos in a month gave $1, I'd be able to do this for you guys without worrying about trends or YouTube views. So if you can, please consider giving $1 a month. Just $1 helps more than you know. And there are even benefits to this, though I'm not the best at keeping up with them if I'm honest. You're paying to get the videos you're watching right now. I'm just gonna level with you. I'll try to get your stuff out, but you're paying for these videos. That's what you're paying for. Anyway guys, thanks so much. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.